Let me take you back. I mean, way back, before any of us was born. Radio and TV programs were sponsored. And by that I mean the sponsors didn't just receive a mention in the title, brought to you by. They weren't just mixing their commercials in with the other people advertising on that show. They brought you the show. They were perceived as having created the show as a service to their customers. They took full credit for that content. General Electric Theater with this guy as an example, or Ed Sullivan, the famous Sullivan Show would not have happened without Lincoln Mercury. Milton Berle hosted the Texas Star Theater, and he wore drag while doing it. But that's a different blog. Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom was big on Sunday nights. And before it was the NBC Nightly News, it was the Camel Caravan of news, as in, cigarettes. Not because the news was about cigarettes, that happened later. The content had very little to do with sponsored products in these cases, but these brands scored points with consumers for providing these shows. Of course, their reach on these shows was enormous. But what they really achieved was an association with quality content. Because even back then, there were less expensive ways to achieve reach. It's all starting to happen again because of an interesting development. Media consumption is going up while advertising consumption is going down. Or to put it simply, people are avoiding commercials. If you're like me, the 5 seconds that you have to watch a pre-roll on a YouTube video, it feels like an eternity, right? In podcasting, we're seeing brands like Trader Joe's and AAA and Slack and Sephora and so many others building their own podcasts. In fact, if you ask loyal podcast listeners why they listen to podcasts in the first place, as compared to traditional media, one of the most frequent answers they'll give you is fewer commercials. Sounds profitable. Edison Research, Signal Hill Insights, lots of others have conducted research showing that many listeners actually appreciate the people that sponsor the podcasts that they love. Let's face it, when your brand asks customers to pay you with their attention before you allow them to reach the content that they're seeking, you're kind of like a toll booth on the highway. You're a little needy. But when you provide the content free of charge, free of interruption as a service to your customers, you're being a truly generous brand. Ad insertion, don't get me wrong, great tool for brand reach, for direct response, for ROI, and it does some brand building. Content marketing cannot compete on a CPM basis. It's a different animal. But for brand lift, it's definitely something to consider.